Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're talking about how to use a climbing tree stand. So I'm going to show you all the steps needed to get into the tree this hunting season with your climbing tree stand, because I'm going to talk about how to set everything up start to finish from the time you walk into the woods. That way you can get on some big bucks this year. Get your climbing tree stand set up. You're going to do it the right way and the safe way. And guys, I know a lot of people on this channel have never hunted before, so hopefully this sparks you to actually want to get out, hunt, try something new, and hopefully you guys like this type of stuff and it's very informative for you guys, and it'll get you out there hunting safely and get you started climbing those trees. All right, guys, if you like this type of stuff, go ahead and hit that like button. Also, hit the subscribe button if you're not a member of the channel already. We're trying to grow this channel, guys, and I need your help to do that. So please hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. That way you know when I'm putting out videos like this, that way you can watch them. Guys, let's get started with this video. Okay, the very first thing, when you're walking into the woods, we're all geared up. I'm gonna be looking for a tree that I wanna sit in. Okay, so what I'm looking for is a tree that is pretty straight. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm also looking for one that's not too big of a tree. Okay, if you stick your hands out in front of you, straight out, that's about what you're looking for, about shoulder width apart. And you can go a little bit skinnier than that, but you don't want to go too skinny, because if you do, for one thing, that deer is gonna see you out of their peripheral vision a lot easier, because you're gonna be a bigger target sticking out from that tree. So we want a tree that's actually going to hide our body profile a little bit better too. And another thing is, when that wind starts blowing, you're going to be blowing all around. Okay, so that's one thing you don't want to do. So getting a bigger tree is going to prevent that from happening, but you don't want to go too large of a tree, because the straps on most of these climbing tree stands aren't going to allow you to get in a very, very big tree. Okay, so just looking around here, that tree over there is way too big. I would say that one is about, 20 inches wide. And look at that, it has a lot of limbs up through there. So you're gonna be having to cut a lot of limbs too. So that's one thing you have to take into consideration. This tree right here that I'm gonna use for demonstration purposes, it doesn't have limbs until I would say 15 to 17 feet up. So I'm not even, for demonstration purposes, not even gonna cut any limbs off of this one, because that's high enough for a demo. But look, it's got good bark. It's not a dead tree. We don't want to get in a dead tree either. So if you look over here, we have a dead tree. See, the bark's already peeling off the bottom here. And if you go up, this one's obviously extremely dead, but you may come across a tree that looks halfway decent at the bottom, but you look on up and it's dead. So watch out for that. That one has been compromised by bugs, and the woodpeckers have just been going to town on it. So keep that in mind too. But we found our tree. We're gonna go with this smaller one. It's only about, I would say, 12 inches wide. So it wouldn't be perfectly ideal for a hunting situation, but guys, for this demo, I think it's gonna work out perfect. Okay guys, we just picked out our tree. We're gonna go ahead and use this one right here behind me. Now, I'm gonna talk about how to unpack all this stuff to get yourself set up for the climb. Okay, so I do have my compound bow here. I'm just gonna go ahead and lay that down at the base of the tree, kind of out of the way here. That way, when I go to hoist it up, it's not gonna get hung up on anything, and it's gonna be laying right here, ready to go. Okay guys, so the next thing you wanna do is go ahead and get your stand off your back. And if this were gonna be a hunting situation, you're gonna wanna do this as quiet as possible. So one cool thing about this Summit SD Climber, it has this dead metal technology. It's got a foam filled insulation inside this. It's gonna deaden that metal a little bit. That way when it clangs on something, it's not gonna be that loud. But we're gonna have to unpack this thing. So most climbing stands have some type of strap or something that holds this stuff together. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this one off. And what I like to do with this, because I don't use it as a stabilizer strap, some people will use this as a stabilizer. which you're gonna connect this to the bottom and to the top to make the stand a little bit more secure when you're up in the tree. But I just lay this at the base of the tree and kind of just put it out of the way, so when I pack this out, I can go ahead and find it really quick. Okay, so we're gonna separate the bottom and the top halves here. All right, we're getting the top and the bottom half separated here. Once again, try to do this as quiet as possible. And now we're gonna try to get these positioned to where we can put them on the tree very easily. All right, we have them separated. Now we're gonna look to start adjusting these straps and actually putting this stuff on the tree. Okay, another thing to keep in mind is this tether. Please do not forget to connect your tether from the top to the bottom. Can't tell you how important that is. I've had a situation before. I was a kid, actually. I got my first climbing stand. I was trying to learn how to use the climbing stand, and I was in the woods by myself. Probably wasn't a good situation to begin with, and I actually had the bottom fall out. And it was a whole nightmare trying to call people to actually come help me and get that back up. So don't be that person. Connect your tether. Don't let that bottom fall out from under you. Okay, we're gonna start putting tree stand onto the tree, and to do that, you're gonna need to, I'm gonna take this tether off for right now, and then we're gonna put it back on, just so I can show you what we're working with. Okay, most climbing stands are gonna have some kind of strap or some type of cable that goes around the tree. So what you wanna do is, I like to unloosen the side that's closest to me, and whatever type of securement that it has, you're gonna go ahead and loosen up that cable. I'm gonna go ahead and put the base of the tree stand on first. That way, if I do need to support the top portion, I can just rest it on this one. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and put this around the tree. I like to grab it from the side, loop this around, because I don't have super long arms, so I don't grab it from the front here. I'm gonna get this into position, and what we wanna do is slide that cable back into the tree stand. But we wanna take into consideration how much this tree actually narrows out as we climb up, because we're gonna wanna put some angle in this bottom stand. I'll show you what I'm talking about. See how this is angled up a little bit? You're gonna want that, especially if that tree narrows out more towards the top. Okay, you may wanna angle it even more than this, depending on how much that angle changes. So keep that in mind before you start the climb, because you cannot adjust this once you're up in the tree. Okay, if you do, you're being very risky. So I wouldn't suggest it. All right, now we're gonna go put the top portion of the tree stand on the tree as well. Once again, if you have this Summit SD open front, you have a very small top portion to actually work with. This has the fold down seat, which is very nice. Once you get in the tree stand, you can actually either have the option to stand up or sit down. And you can just flip this out of the way if you don't want to sit down. So once again, we're gonna unbuckle the cable here that goes around the tree. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put this up against the tree. Once again, trying to be as quiet as possible. Trying to get that matched up to the tree very nicely. Once again, we're gonna wanna put a little bit of angle in this too. Okay, we have it on the tree. All right, I'm gonna show you exactly what you wanna look for. Before you start climbing, you wanna make sure your connection points here are secured. Make sure this is locked in, all of those, because the last thing you wanna do is that not to be fully seated, and you could end up slipping out of the tree stand. Okay, on both sides, and you see right here, look at that. This would have been a common mistake that a lot of people make. So over the winter, I had shove that cable up in there as far as possible just to make sure, you know, it's out of the way. I can store it a lot easier. This right here would have slipped. That is not in at all. So we're gonna have to get that out. All right, so I'm gonna try to fix this. All right, so now it's locked in. Definitely make sure, look right here. That was the same way, was not locked in. So just for example, make sure that is locked in. That kind of goes into the safety aspect of this, making sure everything is safe and sound before you actually make that climb. Okay, so remember the tether. We definitely want to make sure we have this tether connected. That way you don't lose the base of your tree stand. So I just put that around the back part here and then connect it back to itself. And this one is a bungee style, so it will move with you, okay? And if you want to make a really long separation to make those quick climbs, this one will move. Some of the other ones just have a rope that you tie to and from the bottom, but guys, at the end of the day, as long as you have something connecting the two, you're gonna be okay. Okay, we have our tree stand all squared away for the climb. We have it angled back to compensate for the angle in the tree where it gets a little skinnier. We got the top bottom portions secured to the tree. We have all the cables locked in and they're secure. And now we're gonna talk about some safety stuff before we actually make the climb. All right guys, so you probably saw from the rest of the video here, I have a climbing harness on. And these do get pretty pricey. I think Muddy makes one that's pretty cheap. It's like 40 or 50 bucks. This one, I don't even know what it is. Oh, Big Game. So I'll tell you right now, I went to a pawn shop. I saw this laying there with a tree stand and I picked it up and I just took it over to the counter. I was like, hey, how much do you want just for the harness? It's like 20 bucks for the tree stand and the harness. And he's like, oh, give me 10 bucks and it's yours. So I picked this thing up for 10 bucks and it works great, guys. Works great. I'm gonna show you right now how to set this up. That way you can make the climb and have that harness fully secured to the tree as you're making the whole climb, okay? That way if you were to fall out of the tree, you have something connecting you. And I'll tell you right now, most stands come with a little flimsy harness. It might just be the little wraparound chest thing. Guys, that will crush your ribs if you were to fall out of the tree, I'll just tell you right now. And those little flimsy ones, yeah, they'll work. It's gonna hurt. All of them are gonna hurt. But even that little flimsy one, it's gonna get tangled all up. Guys, invest in a good harness and you're gonna be glad you did. The reason you wanna wear a harness is because any little slight movement, one little slip up, guys, you're falling out of that tree. And I know a lot of people do not use a harness. It only takes a second, guys. I'm trying to preach to the choir here, but it only takes a second. There's been a couple times where I've been in a tree stand and maybe it's late season, there's ice on the stand, and you just slip. Okay, this harness is gonna keep you from dying. It's gonna keep you coming back to your family after every single hunt. So please, do it for your family's sake, do it for your sake, and everybody will thank you for that. So just getting some of the last minute safety things squared away, I did bring the loop that goes around the tree. That way we can hook our climbing harness to it. This is gonna need to be able to slide up and down the tree as you go up. I'm just gonna wrap this around the tree. Okay, and for right now, we're just gonna leave that loose. That way when we climb up the tree, we can move that with us. Okay, one of the last things we're gonna need before we make our climb, and I'm assuming this is gonna be the first climb for everybody, is have some type of saw. That way if you do need to cut limbs, you can go ahead and do that, and you have this in your pocket. They make a lot of different folding saws on Amazon, anywhere. This actually came in a game processing kit. This is actually meant to cut bone and stuff, but I don't use it for that, so I use this as a very compact saw that I carry to cut limbs. Okay, one of the other last things we need to do before we make our climb is connect our gear or our bow to us or the tree stand before we make the climb. That way we can hoist it up once we get to our desired height. All I have here, guys, is I got some high vis paracord because, hey, this might be an early morning, late evening type thing where you're getting in or out of the tree stand. I like to be able to see this right here because they can get kind of invisible in the dark, and I just have some cheap clips here. You can buy bow hoists and they're not too expensive. I think Hunter Specialties has one for like 15 bucks. It's retractable and that'll work great too. But hey, keeping it blue collar, guys, I have some paracord I had just laying around and some cheap clips here, and it works just fine. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this around my bow. And it doesn't have to be fancy, guys. I'm just wrapping it around the limb here. What I do is connect this to my tree stand. That way, some people clip it to their belt loop. I find that this little clip right here is very nice to clip it onto, and it's out of my way when I'm making the climb, but it's there when I need to hoist it up, so it works out perfect. Okay, another thing you want to look at before you make your climb is what type of foot stirrups you have. These stirrups right here are the quick stirrups. I can't remember exactly what Summit calls them, but they're very fast. So what you do, you have this bungee cable here, and most come with some type of bungee cable. And if yours is missing it, just go grab some kind of bungee cord or something from your local hardware store and you can rig it up. But what you do is stick your feet in here and then just around into the stirrup on both sides, and that is going to keep your feet in those stirrups the whole climb, and you're going to feel more secure when you're fully locked in like this. Some people don't climb this way. Some people don't like the bungee cord. They just like to, you know, put their feet in. And a lot of times the cheaper ones will just have a nylon strap that goes across here and is screwed in. But I don't like those near as good as these. These are really, really quick, and they're bigger stirrups. That way if you have big cold weather boots on, you're still gonna be able to fit in those. Very, very good system here that Summit has. All right, guys, we're gonna start the climb. I'm gonna go ahead and set the camera over here to the side. I'm not gonna go all the way up like I normally would. Normally I climb up to anywhere from 17, 20, 25 feet, depending on the location and where the deer trail is or whatever in relation to where my tree is. So those are some things you gotta keep in mind too, because deer do have very good peripheral vision. So if you're not high enough out of that peripheral vision zone, they're gonna pick you off. So definitely keep that in mind when you're setting up your stand. Okay, we're gonna get over here, we're gonna get locked in, we're gonna start our climb. All right, so I just got in the stand here. I'm gonna go ahead and clip my harness to the actual strap that I have around the tree here, and then I'm just gonna start climbing. So this SD open front does not have a rail that goes around, so you actually have to brace your forearms against the actual stand, and then you can pretty much climb up the tree that way. And this strap right here, you're gonna have to move that up the tree as you're climbing. So it does get a little annoying, but in the event that you were to fall, that is gonna save the day. All right, so I just alternate between moving the strap, the top portion of the stand, and then the bottom portion in that order, okay? And then as you do this a couple times, you're gonna get into a rhythm. And the biggest thing here is to make sure that each piece of that stand is actually really sunk into the tree before you actually move that next piece. So once you move the base of the stand, I like to put a little bit more weight on it, bounce a little bit, sink it into the tree, and then move that next piece. That way I avoid the risk of actually slipping. And you can see here, I have pretty much reached my desired height here. For this demo, we're only gonna go up about 15 feet. And what I'm doing here is I'm gonna go ahead and take that strap that's around the tree, and I'm gonna go ahead and cinch that down so I can put it in place and lock it in. And what I'm doing here, I got it about head level. You can even go a little bit higher because the strap that actually leads to the harness is pretty long. And the reason you want it that high is so in the event you do fall, you still have access to get back in that stand. All right, what I'm showing you here is if you do want to move around from
let's say you want to hunt from the front portion of the tree and you started on the back, you can actually move around using this climber. You could go all the way around that tree if you wanted to. All right, so it might happen where the bottom side of the tree is on a very steep incline and then the other side of the tree isn't. So that might be one of the reasons that you go ahead and alternate around the tree that way. So you never know when that might happen. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and take the top portion of that tree stand and I'm gonna get it into place. And I did lower it down quite a bit. That way, you know, I'm sitting with my knees pretty much at a 90-degree bend. And you saw right there, I kind of jumped up and down on the base of the tree stand there to actually sink the teeth of the climbing portion into the tree a little bit so it'll grab on and it's not going to slip out. All right, so I took a seat there and I'm actually going to hoist my bow up. Okay, and I just take the clip for the hoist and I just clip it onto the stand again. Okay, right here I'm showing you a bow hanger, and I just have a really compact bow hanger. They make all kinds of bow hangers, and you just screw that into the tree and then you can hang your bow up so you don't have to hold on to that bow the entire hunt. If you were to see a deer or something, you can go ahead and grab that bow and get ready at that point. But a lot of states don't allow you to screw your bow hanger into the tree, so you might have to get a strap on bow hanger that actually straps to the tree. Okay, testing the range of motion here, you can see I can make a full draw sitting down. This open front climbing stand allows me to pretty much have any angle of draw and not hit a rail or anything. And you can see there, I flipped the seat out of the way to make a standing shot. And pretty much all angles, you're gonna have good shots with this stand, being able to stand up. You can kind of move around to position yourself for a better shot. Okay guys, that's about it in the stand. Now we're just gonna go ahead and hoist down our bow again and pretty much do everything in reverse. One of the biggest things with climbing back down is making sure that you're fully clipped back in, your feet are in the stirrups before you actually start descending down that tree. So what you're gonna have to do here is get your feet back in those stirrups, make sure you're locked in really good. You're gonna have to loosen up that strap that goes around the tree that you connect your safety harness to. And once again, if you have a lot of excess on that strap, go ahead and cut that off so it's not in the way. And then you're gonna have to break the base of that tree stand loose, and it is gonna be a little sunk into the tree. So you might have to actually swing it around to actually break it loose. And then it's just descending order there. So you're gonna have to work the base of the tree first, and then you're gonna be doing the top portion of the tree stand, and then you're gonna have to move that strap out of the way. Keep in mind to move that strap so you don't actually forget about it and then have to reposition and go back up the tree. Okay, and one of the key things to keep in mind here, every single time you move a piece of that tree stand, make sure it is very secure before you go ahead and move the next piece, because if it were to slip, you could run the risk of actually falling out of that tree stand. Okay, so we've reached the bottom of the tree here, and I do like to get at least a foot away from the ground. Sometimes if you're in a bigger tree, it's not going to be the case.
All right, so we made it back down the tree. Now, all we have to do is worry about packing this back up so we can get back out of the woods and onto another hunt. So we're just gonna pretty much do all this in reverse. Hey guys, I hope you found this video pretty informative about how to use a climbing tree stand. Please follow these steps right here. That'll keep you safe while you're using a climbing tree stand. That way you can come home to your family and everybody's gonna be happy at the end of the day, and you're gonna be safe and sound. So guys, if you like this video, go ahead, help me out, leave me a like. Also, subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of stuff. That way you can become a member of the channel and actually stay around for more videos like this that we're rolling out. And this is gonna be my first deer season with YouTube. So hopefully you like this stuff. You can stick around to see that season and some of the things that we're gonna be talking about during deer season. And guys, we're still gonna be doing our fishing stuff too. So please, if you like fishing, stick around for that stuff too. And guys, turn on the notification bell. That way you can see that stuff when I publish it. And thanks for checking out the video, guys. Keep it blue collar.